Okay, welcome to the webinar from Weld about responsive web content. I'm Tom Soderlund, CEO of Weld.
And I'm Marcus Nyberg, VP of Sales at Weld.
We're going to start with a little introduction about what Weld is, and I'm going to hand over to Marcus.
Thank you, Tom. So, excellent. So, as I said, I'm Marcus Nyberg, I head up sales at Weld. So just very shortly before we get into the demo part, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Weld and what Weld is. And we are a web design tool that acts as a visual booster for any CMS platform. And in the way it looks, it's quite easy to use and quite similar to a lot of softwares out there today. So you're probably familiar with PowerPoint, and if you're familiar with that, you probably are a very quick user of Weld. You don't need code to use Weld. It's all drag and drop, and you can create responsive design with much ease. And as far as go to our customers, the way they use it is that they do a very easy and quick integration to their current CMS platform. And with that, it gives them a number of panes or windows on their existing website where they can be very creative and create visual content that they otherwise would not be able to do in their current CMS platform. So in this example, Indiska, one of our customers, are being very active, changing stuff on their site every day. And by playing around and doing A/B testing, they can get the most optimal results. And if you ask this specific customer, what has Weld actually given them? And their answer to that is simply that they regained their creativity within their organization. So we understand that there is a lot of frustration involved in running a successful website. Creating visual content is very time consuming, and it costs a lot of money. I think a lot of you probably do that with third party. With Weld, you will be able to do that all in house and go from just an idea to publish within the same very day. And really, there should really be no constraints visually what you're able to do, whether that is on a tablet, on your desktop, or on your mobile phone. So with that, I think it would be great to actually go in and look
at the tool.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do now. So I'm opening up Weld. Weld is a browser-based tool, runs in any web browser. And here I have opened up a sample project, and I'm just going to orient you in the interface so you know how it works very quickly. So if you know PowerPoint Keynote, you should be quite familiar with how Weld works. So in the middle you have a canvas that you can fill with content. Above you have a toolbar where you can add pieces of content like text blocks, images, boxes. The insert menu, you have more complex objects like forms and maps and so on. There's an edit menu where you can copy paste and delete objects. There's a couple of grid systems that we will explore more in detail shortly. There's linking if you want to link to another page, another external website, email, and so on. And finally, there's the action blocks that is the more complex animation and scripting tool of Weld. And we just did actually another webinar a couple of weeks back on that, so you can go to our YouTube channel and check it out if you want to learn more about that. But here I have a sample project with a couple of images, a couple of buttons, a gray rectangle and a text object, and another image, another button. And right now this project is not responsive at all. If I click the preview button and start resizing my window, you'll see that nothing happens basically. It just crops. the website, so it doesn't flex or adjust or do anything to be responsive. And responsive, as you all know, is the ability to fit different devices, everything from a mobile phone up to like a tablet device to a desktop device and larger screens as well. But with some simple tools, we can actually make this responsive. So first of all, I'm going to add more layouts. So down in the bottom right corner, I have a settings button for responsive layouts. And as you can see, I only have one layout now called desktop, but I can easily add more layouts. So I click add and then phone, I get a second one. If I do another one and add a wide layout, I have now 3 layouts. So I have phone, desktop, and wide. And you can see the desktop has a little crown on it. That means it's the primary layout. Primary layout is where your design should start, and then you can adjust it to fit the other devices or layouts as well. It doesn't have to be desktop. You could easily do mobile first design if you want by just renaming the desktop layout to phone and changing the width and height. But for this example, we will settle with just having desktop as the primary layout. So what I'm going to do first is just look at what happens now when I click phone. So as you can see, something happened when I clicked phone. Everything's actually just squeezed together horizontally. So Weld does some kind of change automatically, but usually this is not enough. If it's just one piece of content that stretches the entire screen, it could work, but here I have 3 columns. It doesn't look very nice on the phone. So if we look at the wide layout instead, it looks a little bit better. Actually, this might actually be passable, but it's not really what you want. So we're going to adjust that too. But I'll also check the preview, and so you can see now what happens. So once I have added my extra layouts, it now stretches, as you can see. So Weld automatically stretches the canvas between your smallest layout to your largest layout. It will never go beyond, it will never stretch beyond the widest layout. It would never compress things smaller than the smallest layout. And that could be important to know. So for instance, if I would remove the wide layout now, Weld would stop stretching at the desktop layout, which is currently running at 1000 pixels. So it means that the design would never be wider than 1000 pixels. But as it is set up now, it will stretch from 320 pixels up to 2560 pixels. But now I'm going to start adjusting this for the phone device. So when I click phone, you can see that you get a red border, and you actually got a status message saying now editing the phone specific layout, all formatting only affects phone. So all the design changes I do now will only affect the phone layout. Otherwise it will sort of inherit design from the primary layout, which is desktop. So from here I can start just shuffling things around. So I can take the image and one of the buttons and just move it down. I can move this out of the way for the time being, and then move this picture up and make the button larger too, something like that. And then I can move the text block and rectangle back in. And as you can see, the text doesn't really fit in this box. I want and I don't want to make the box bigger, so I want to adjust the font size for phone layout only. So I open the formatting panel to the right with the little arrow button here, and then I can just move the font size down. And as you can see, also the font control is now red. It indicates that these changes are only being done to a specific layout, and it's actually the phone layout being changed right now. So something like that is more what I had in mind. Now I'm going to fix the last image too. So make the stretch all the way, go up, and make the button stretch out too. Okay, so now we have this part. We can just let it be like that. So now I have this on the phone and this on desktop. So a 1-column layout on the phone and a 3-column layout on desktop. And when you preview this, you will see at a certain point, it changes the layout. You see the image doesn't look too nice right now, but there they snapped and filled their boxes like they should do. So in between, Weld tries to sort of tries to stretch the layout between the defined layout sizes, and right in the middle between phone and desktop layout, between 1000 and 320 pixels, it will actually make the switch between the phone and the desktop layout. And I think you probably saw that when I was resizing the images quickly, sometimes the image didn't really fill the entire box. That's because we are optimizing images on the fly. The recommended way to use Weld is actually to upload and work with high resolution images, and Weld will take care of downsizing all the images to the correct size based on the device that the user is accessing the content with. But that also means that sometimes when you resize an image quickly, it takes half a second or so to get the new optimized image from Weld. So that's nothing to be concerned about. So images is you can do a lot with images in Weld, and I'm not gonna dive into all the options you have for images, because under advanced image options you can actually zoom in images, you can change the center point, and so on. There's one control that's pretty important though, and that it's the fit image control. It's basically a zooming tool as well, but it only has 2 options. One is the default for photos, at least, is the way it looks like now. It's where the image is cropped to fill the rectangle, the box, the image box around it. The other option is to enable fit image, which means the image is scaled down so the entire image fits within the box. And this also works beautifully when it's responsive, and will handle sort of adjusting the image as the image box grows or becomes smaller. It will adjust the image to make sure it always fits the entire image within the box, and that's really good to know. For photos, we recommend using the cropping look, where you will always have a photo to the edges of the box. But for logos and other types of graphics where it's important that you always see the entire artwork, the fit image is a good option. So we looked at how to change size and layout on objects, and also changing font sizes. For objects in responsive design, you could of course change any property here, like colors and layers and so on, also in a responsive manner. Maybe not as useful, but what is useful though is the ability to hide and make objects appear in different responsive layouts. And there's a couple of ways you can do that. One is using the opacity slider down here. You can of course set it to be half transparent in phone layout, or you can dial it all the way back down to 0 and it becomes invisible in phone. So in desktop you can see the text here, photos by Caroline Verones, but in phone it fades down to nothing. However, the object's still here and it's still clickable. If you, for instance, would have a linked object underneath, you would not be able to click through it even though it's invisible. So there's another option that you can use for hiding things, and it's found under the effects menu in the property bar, and it's called hidden. So basically as an on and off switch. When it's hidden, it gets this blue border to indicate that it's invisible. So it doesn't get invisible in the editor, but it's invisible when you preview it. So in desktop I don't have the blue border, but in phone I do have the blue border. And if I preview this and scale it down, you can see now that the text is now gone. The hidden option is a bit different than opacity in the sense that it actually makes the object totally disappear from the canvas. If it's objects underneath that should be clickable, they will be clickable, and so on. So that's a good option to be aware of. Finally, I want to show you another way of previewing, and of course you have the preview button, but when you are designing responsibly, it's a good way to look at it on a real device, and a very convenient way of doing that is with the send link option. So here you can actually send a live preview link either to a phone with just typing in a phone number, or you can send it by typing in an email address. You will get a text message or an SMS with the link to the project, a live preview link, and you can open that up on a phone and look at your design as you are designing it, and any change you will do will be sort of updated in real time on your phone as well. So when I'm designing responsibly, for instance, I usually always have a phone running on the side, so I can look at the design on a mobile device as I'm designing it on desktop at the same time. So that's a nice trick to be aware of. And that's the gist of it, actually. That's what I was planning to go through today on today's webinar. Feel free to ask any questions here on YouTube. You can also reach out to us on tom@weld.io, and there you are, Marcus@weld.io, if you have any questions. And hope to see you soon on the next webinar. Bye-bye.
Have a good one, guys.